set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out.
Then you're about two things: your teammates and the fans. And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. When you do not show up to play, you're letting your teammates down. When you do not show up to play, you're letting the fans down that are paying you 40, 50, 60 million. I don't care if you're getting 300 million. Congratulations. But these people, $2,500 a ticket, $5,000, that are blue-collared, hard-working people. If you don't get your head wrapped around that, you shouldn't be in pro sports, because how are we going to grow? How do we expect you to be an example? Well, guess what? You don't want to be. You are one. You're on the biggest stage. You just said it. They make the most money. You're an example. You got to show up. You got to take that on. I'm sick and tired of making athletes greats, all-time greats, that aren't the best examples. Those are the people that we want our kids to follow, that we want athletes to follow. That helps us in our game. Stephen A., you want athletes to be educated on this and understand this. They got to understand the importance of showing up to the All-Star game and being on the court and playing banged up sometimes and playing injured maybe at times. Thank you. And participating, because here's the thing. Because you're making 100, 200, 300 million, you should be out there banged up. You should be. That's why we pay you, is to max out. We talk about greatness and it being the longevity of somebody's career. I don't care if you play 50 years. I want your best 10. I want you on the court dominating. I want you to go all out. I want Michael Jordan. I want Kobe. That's what I want in every sport. That's the guy that I follow. You're a different version than that, you don't get my respect. You're really about sports.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us at 3:05 Live. What a way to kick off the show. And we finally got to do what I've been dying to do for the last couple of weeks. Joining us today is the FTSN Network specialist on the Miami Heat, and I would say even the Miami Dolphins. He is part of the very popular East 10th Street Boys alongside with Bobby Melendez. Alex, man, how are you, brother? How's it going?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for having me. I should have checked my DMs 2 weeks ago. We would have had this episode before, but you know, everything happens for a reason, man. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, it's a great introduction, and thank you. You actually respected. We started on Cuban time, 9:10. I like this. I feel familiar as my time frame. You know, I can't start too early on time. 9:10, perfect time to go, bro. Yeah, man. But you know what? We were also catching up a little bit because you haven't been on it in a while. And I haven't been on FTSN in a while either. So it's good to talk to you as well. We're like just shooting the crap a little bit. But 9:10's not too bad. You know, there's been a time where I've tried checking out other shows and it's 9, but it really started at 9:30. You know, because obviously stuff happens. So that's like delayed Cuban time. Yeah, brother, it is. Like, it is. I've seen it happen before. I'm like, is something wrong? Am I glitching? Yeah, am I glitching? Something wrong? You know, and so on. Yeah, like PK Subban brought out a good point, and he basically said something that a lot of us are really much thinking about the dynamics between the NBA and the NHL. Both leagues pretty much play at the same time, and both play the same amount of games pretty much, and both teams have the same amount of games into the playoffs as well. He brings out a very, very, very strong point about what is something that that's been a big problem in the NBA, and that's the whole maintenance program that a lot of athletes start to say, "What's up, JB? How you doing? NHL tough? I rest my case." Your Honor. I follow JB in the Back It Up Binge podcast, man. He does great work and a huge Dolphin fan, dude. So give JB a little bit of love. Yeah, man. So those are all things that are occurring, and honestly speaking, I think PK's right. But I consider you a big-time basketball guy, you know, and so on. What do you think about his comments? Any truth? Any misunderstandings that he's probably not getting? That the NBA has to have a bit more restrictions on its athletes. So, what say you? Look, I'll speak from the heart. We could do the comparisons later in regards to intensity, ice time compared to court time. The fact that one sport is basically on blades, you're skating on blades. So like there is an endurance, there's a toughness, but the optics, I'm going to completely agree with PK. You don't see NHL players missing time. Obviously there's a huge salary discrepancies the new TV contract for the NHL is going to be huge, because even in our backyard here, Sunrise, in less than 10 years ago, that arena was empty half the time. Like, it has built a rapport, and I don't know if it's the parallel universes where the NBA now is so much player empowerment. And I've always believed, I'm like, come on, the Celtics today just sold for $6 billion. It's a moneymaker. Like, you're gonna see more franchises now go for sale, which is minimal to what the Timberwolves just sold for 1.5 from the 2 years ago that they finally settled now. So we understand the marketability of athletes. We understand that for the NBA a long time ago in the 90s, try to remove itself from the rap culture, from the street culture. Remember N1, like that was playground, that is park basketball. So there was that toughness. Athletes transcended that into the NBA. Now it's more of an image. And like I said, I love the game of basketball. I grew up with it. It was my first love. Is the thing that I've spent most time with in my life is with a basketball in my hands. So I have all love for it, but I also remember watching 90s basketball. I remember when the athletes now get rewarded for flopping, and the softness that comes with it, the load management. Like, there's a difference between being hurt and injured. And in the NHL, I don't know if it could be salary, if it could be a cultural thing, if it's something that is just engraved in the athlete. Naturally, I mean, you got a sport that aside from boxing and UFC, like, they legit want you to fight. They want you to hit each other. It's like football, but with ice skates, you know? So there is definitely a changing of the guard and a cultural changing also in regards to the popularity of the sport in America, kind of like soccer. It's crazy to me how soccer, for example, is even a better example, where it's a world sport and the USA kind of was always behind. You know, kind of like basketball now is across all borders, and international players are more skilled at an earlier age than American players. And hockey descends from Canada, and it's taken the country by storm. And you can see it. Why? Because as competitors, you want to see that physicality. And yeah, 100%, man. Right now, in this day and age, comparing just physicality in regards to toughness, because we could go into detail, the amount of energy exerted by an athlete in a basketball game for 40 minutes on the court in comparison to a hockey player that is ice time is what, 18, 19, 20 minutes a game, and your ice time consecutive is maybe like a minute and change. So there's discrepancies there, but overall load management, playing through injuries, even I mean, we lost Kachuk because he played basically through an injury. He got hurt playing in an exhibition game for his country. Like, those are things that it takes away a little bit, but you kind of want to see if maybe they start going back to being more physical. Like 80s, 90s, like the bad boys were the Pistons, the Heat in the 90s defensively. Like, they were dogs, man. And it was great to watch.
Yeah, the thing with basketball, though, is it's had a major transition. Now, what used to be, I remember growing up in the 80s, I was a kid in the 80s, but in the 90s, you wanted that big man. You wanted that Pat Ewing, that Alonzo Mourning, because it was a physical game, and it was about going down low and scoring down low, getting buckets, getting rebounds, and the three-pointer was like a luxury. You hit a three-pointer if you had to, not because it was completely part of your game. But the game's evolved, and now it's like a guards league. The three-pointer dominates more so than going inside. I don't care what anyone says. I don't think any big man in today's NBA, they might be more athletic, but physically, I don't think they compete with Olajuwon, Robinson, Mourning, Shaq in his prime as well. Either Dikembe Mutombo. I just don't think that those old school guys will maul today's centers in the NBA, even though I do think today's centers are more athletic because they can shoot from the outside and they can move a bit like guards, but they also get hurt all the time as well. Like, AD gets hurt all the time, and so does what's the big guy from Philly? What's his name?
Oh, Joel Embiid.
Yeah, Joel Embiid, man, he gets hurt all the time.
He's one injury away from being medically retired, bro.
Yeah, brother. I mean, so Robinson, super durable. Ewing was super durable. Olajuwon, super durable. Mourning was pretty durable. They broke his face once. That's why he missed so much time once.
Yeah, with his mask. Yes, I remember.
And he still looked like the fan of the freaking opera and still played. I mean, so it's just a different league. I think one of the main reasons why, because of the hip hop culture, and I'm just telling you what the NBA was doing, not because I was against it, because I like AI and I like Stephon, the hip hop culture, they wanted to kind of like move away a little bit from that. So they went to a more finesse style game where now the whole idea of defensive penalties, where they used to never, they would call it every so often, but now if you spend too much time in the lane, in general, they call it back. They've opened it up now for more of a finesse 3-point shooting game.
Correct.
The centers are now shooting threes and stuff like that. So wearing suits on the sidelines or dressing somewhat nice, so those are all things they did, which I didn't mind the NBA doing because the NBA was struggling a bit, the post-Jordan era, in general. But these guys are now prima donnas, man, and it's blatantly obvious. And I'm for player empowerment, but I'm not for what happened with the Miami Heat. We're getting to Jimmy Butler later on, but I'm not happy. I don't like what happened with the Heat and Jimmy Butler. At the end of the day, you have a boss, in general, and you're making a lot of money. In the NHL, you can't restructure your contract. If you agree 3 years, 24 mil, that is your contract. Mm-hmm. There's no like, I scored 2 more goals. We'll work it out next season, in general, when your contract is up. But you play your contract, and that's the appeal that I think the NHL has, as far as comparable to the NBA. But I love the NBA, man. I still love the NBA.
Yeah.
I still watch the finals. But I gotta say, man, despite what I've been hearing when I was doing research for the show, despite what some writers are saying, dismissing the fact that because of the money deal the NBA has versus hockey, the NBA Finals has better ratings than the NHL Stanley Cup does. I will say this though, and I think the NBA has to be very careful because the four Worlds tournament, because of all the popularity it got, because of the good social media coverage it got on IG, on YouTube Shorts, and so on, they surpassed the NBA All-Star Game in ratings.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think the NBA is going to, if it's not careful, it's going to have something to think about in the future regarding the NHL.
They need, I'm not going to say they need to have a rebirth in regards to the All-Star weekend, but they definitely need to entice. It's unfortunate. Trust me, this is the part that really bothers me. It's unfortunate that they have to incentivize performing in the dunk contest, performing in the 3-point shootout. Before it was a badge of honor. You wanted to be part of the NBA weekend, and I'm talking about when the All-Star weekend was the weekend, and you were playing games again on Tuesday. Now you have a week break, which is understandable. You have your All-Star break, and then you have maybe like a 4 or 5 day break, and then you go back into team activities where you have to report again to camp, to the facilities, etc. The thing is that, and you mentioned it, you hit the nail on the head. You can evolve, and it's more of a finesse league. But think about this. European leagues and European players have always been finesse players. They're not seen as physical, super physical specimens, but they are tough. And that's, to me, the part that has genuinely bothered me. We have lost the toughness. And I see it in AAU basketball because you got kids that are watching the NBA. This is the parallel universe. We were kids watching the NBA. We emulated those players and their toughness and playing through injuries and playing hurt, where you yourself, sometimes, I'll be hurt. Do you think we were telling our coach that my ankle hurt and all that? No, because you weren't getting back on the court. If you complain, you weren't getting back on the court. Now, as a coach now, we have a lot of legalities that we have to, with concussions, with everything. There's protocols that we need to follow because we can face serious repercussions. The schools can face serious repercussions. But you will play through being hurt. You cannot play through injury. Why? Because there is ramifications of a younger athlete. But what you're seeing now is it's the lack of toughness where you become a finesse player, you become a finesse league, but then you're not even entertaining anymore at times. And that All-Star weekend was a destination. Celebrities wanted to be there. Everybody wanted to be there. It was front row. It was a whole weekend event. And I think we all know corporations copycat off each other, leagues copycat off each other. So if it's a good idea, the NHL, there should be, in my opinion, a Worlds tournament in the NBA. And they've talked about it. But what bothers me is that they've tried to do so much to try to make it enticing that sometimes all you got to do is what you've always done, do it right. Make it right, make it entertaining, make it competitive. You know what? Do that. Like in Major League Baseball. You want home court advantage in the finals, your conference has to win the All-Star game. Boom, you solve that problem. Make it a Euro, Canada, USA team. Make it competitive, make it fun for people.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And one of the things that people talked about is the ratings, how they're low. in general. By the way, there's also low in the NHL as well at regular season, so I don't want to make this just a bashing of the NBA. Both leagues have issues with ratings in the regular season, too many games, right, as well. So I don't want to piggyback on it as well. But the one thing I do think is I remember when we were growing up, you had, but I wouldn't say the NHL. The NHL didn't really. Honestly, hockey, unless you had ESPN at the time, you couldn't watch hockey.
You couldn't watch it. It was a regional.
At all.
Yeah.
It's totally regional. You couldn't watch hockey at all. Even when the Panthers, in the 90s, they were always on the Sun. It was very hard to watch the Panthers. The Heat were always on Channel 33, though, when I was a kid. So I was able to watch the Heat all the time. So basketball was easier to follow. Basketball was easier.
Wemby 69, Pax 35.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely. Dude, I saw Dan Marley hit that 3 to beat the Chicago Bulls the year they won 72-10.
Oh my.
On television, on regular TV. I didn't see it on cable.
That is awesome, man.
It was a great shot, so you were able to follow the NBA a little more thoroughly. I think now that you have so much streaming, you have movies and stuff like that. I do think that, and now everything is somewhat on cable or / a stream network. I do think that with other things to do, it kind of weakened the NBA's ratings. And I also think the fact that, for example, the Heat fans love this chant whenever LeBron would show up when he went back to Cleveland. LeBron is tired, because it always seemed like every single time LeBron came to Miami, he was always on his maintenance program.
Exhausted, yeah.
Exactly. So the fans would yell, LeBron is tired in general. And that's something I think is also plaguing the NBA, because now, ever since Greg Popovich started the whole maintenance program thing, you don't know what you're getting. And that's what PK's argument was. At least that when you go to a Panthers game or you go to Golden Knights game, you go to Rangers game, you're probably going to see your stars.
Correct.
You're going to see your stars. Whereas in the NBA, you don't know.
And honestly, man, look, at this point, it's a legal term, because both players and owners signed the CBA, but there could be even a stipulation where unless you are injured and your team doctor does not clear you, you will not get paid if you don't play that game. It's like work. If I don't go to work, before, obviously I work on my own now, so I don't even know what an office culture life really is.
Nice,
like
man.
I was telling
Awesome.
I was telling my wife this. Like we were walking the other day, doing an exercise, and I'm like, I haven't been in an office environment, like working for somebody else, in so many years that I don't even know. Like I told her, because my wife is an HR programs manager, so obviously she designs all these things, she consults companies, and I'm like, there's no way like I can follow any of these things in house, because I don't even know what the environment of sitting in a desk with other people is. And I'm like, it's funny how it becomes like foreign to you when you're gone. But the situation with that is that the NBA right now, you have players that can pick and choose when to not play, and they're still getting their salary. And then now you got fans that are saving up to take their kids that sometimes have traveled over and over. You never had that problem before. Unless a player was really injured, you knew you were going to see Jordan. You knew you were going to see Kobe. Like, you knew it. So you have these kids waiting all day, and you show up and you're like, which is a disservice. Now, like you said, it could be a situation with 82 games, but you know what? It's always been 82 games. Yeah. Travel right now, charter flights. You're staying in suites. You're not washing your own clothes. You're not washing your own jersey. You don't have side jobs. Like, this is your career, man. All you do is get paid to work out. You have endorsements. You have all the success you want. So I don't know at what point we've gotten to where it's catered so much that you forget, like, yeah, you're a human being. I understand. You're asked to perform at a high level, at the high stage. That's fine. But, dude, it's basketball. It's a sport. Like, you're getting paid to live a childhood dream. Like, I understand it's work and it's hard work, but the least you can do, and it has to come from self-pride, man. Like, you want to be durable. You want to be dependable. So I don't know. I really don't know when. And like you mentioned, it could have been when Pop did that. Yeah. I've always known teams like, they rest their players here and there, but it wasn't to the extent. Yeah. And honestly, you can have the science behind it where there are more injuries caused sometimes when they don't practice as much anymore, man. No, the new rules, it's like, so now you get these freak injuries because guys are on load management, and then you push your body to the extreme, and it hasn't had so many reps. Something's going to happen. You're going to tear something. You're going to hurt something. You're going to pull something. So it has a reverse effect sometimes that I think eventually down the line they'll see it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I remember when the big three, were playing with it, when he had Bosch and Wade and LeBron. I used to sit in the 300 sections. You had Europeans that would go and they would go and they would sit in the standing room only sections You know, and imagine, and that's when they mostly play. Can you imagine now? You come all the way from like Slovenia,
Yeah.
you know, to check out, and they don't even play.
Yeah.
You know, you spend all that money. You know, you spend on parking. You know, and stuff like that. I mean, it's incredible. You know, like what's been going on, and I think that's a major problem as well. Not only that, the amount of flopping in the NBA, like LeBron, like there's before again when I was trying to find some videos for this episode. I wanted to show, but it's too much to go with my over here on the stream here. But they had a top 20 LeBron flops, you know, on YouTube. You know, they had the infamous Jason Tatum one where Jason barely touches him and he flops, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, bro, this is just unbelievable.
It affects. Look, we all know before in the NBA, people don't even remember this. Like, you weren't allowed to play zone defense. So defense was later, I believe, late 90s. It was illegal.
Yeah.
You cannot be 2 over on 1. Like, you had to guard man on man. Yeah. And that's something that even it's a loss.
Don't forget the hand checks, brother. You're allowed to do that.
Yep. You can hand
You're allowed to do that.
Bro, you remember games sometimes, and it is funny because it's like cyclical. Like in the 80s and 70s, there were some games that were like 140 to 135.
Yeah.
And then you go into the 80s and 90s, and you got games that are like 60. The other day, man, I saw a Heat game. Was it the playoffs against the Bulls in the 4th quarter? And it was like 69 to 65.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, that's the 2nd quarter right now.
Yeah.
That's the 2nd quarter. And I'm like, it's crazy how you see it in real time. And then you kind of start feeling older because now I start sounding like older people. And like I start sounding like my dad in regards to certain things. And I'm like, oh, kids, you don't know back in my day. I'm like, wait a second, dude. I'm like, as you get older, it's true. You appreciate your era. You kind of understand what the era is, but you cannot lose sight of what it is. And now, I guarantee you, next year when Amazon Now has the NBA package, there are going to be some changes in regards to even analysts, the way the game is talked about, the way the game is analyzed and transmitted to the world is going to change a little bit. Like you mentioned, there's different viewership. Like you're still going to have, still in sports, the most important thing is having the rights to live action. That's great. But you don't have anymore a lot of these people that you made it a habit to, at 3 o'clock on Sunday night or 1 o'clock, you have to go to NBC to watch the NBA game of the week. You were there. We were glued at 1 o'clock. Yep. I was rushing from church just to make sure I got there before tip-off, bro. I'm like, Mom, we got to go. We got to go. I got to go watch the game. And you remember, I still remember the music. And it's something that
Contest, buddy.
Yeah.
Contest, man.
And now it's something that, what you mentioned, when you got, that's like simple fact. Oreo cookies. Before it was regular chocolate Oreos. Then it came out with the vanilla Oreos. That's it. You had 2 choices. Boom. Now you go to the Oreo section and you got everything to choose from. You're undecided. And it's the same thing here with sports, man. You have so many things that viewership is gonna be down. It's a long season. So I'm not even worried about that. It's just what I'm worried about is the product that you put and the experience. Going to an NHL game, if you notice, the announcer's not constantly talking. In the NBA, there's more interaction and all that. NHL is legit for the fan. Like, they just want to watch the game. Like, sometimes I'll watch games and I don't even put the volume up. Like, I'll just listen and I'll just hear. And I'm like, you want to see that. You want to feel it.
Yeah. I mean, like the action is just, and the action is insane, you know, as well. Going back a little bit now regarding the whole idea of the ratings, I'm glad you brought that up. The NBA Finals. Now, the NBA Finals last season had 11.3 rating in 2024. The NHL only had 4.1, which was the Panthers versus the Edmonton Oilers. It was a great series.
It was.
It really was. But here's the difference. The NHL, depending on who's in the Stanley Cup Finals, another thing about hockey that I think it's going to have to fix, but it's getting better, is the fact it's very regional. A lot of the northern teams dominate because hockey is, you play it all the time because it snows up there. It doesn't snow in Florida, you know, unless you're in the Panhandle every 10 years maybe. And of course, you know, you have the Thrashers of Georgia where it does snow, but not as harsh as it would like in New York. But nonetheless, I think they sort of figured that out because I've heard Thrashers games get very packed.
Yes,
you know, as well. They get very packed, and so even though it's at a 4.1 clip, it's fluctuated, but within consistency. Like 1 year, this team's playing 2.2, but then 4.1 and 5.6 and 4.1. The NBA has seen declines.
Correct.
Every single year there's been a dip, you know, in terms of the finals. And that, I think that's what I'm saying. I think in the long run, all the people that are back in the NBA as far as being a much more lucrative sport, I can understand them. They have a better TV deal. But you said hockey's going to get a new TV deal, which I think is going to be much more lucrative. The NBA right now receives $76 billion from ESPN, NBC, and Amazon. All right, because that's what we just finished talking about.
Yeah.
I can only think of TNT and maybe ESPN for the NHL. That's it. Only two brands in general. But right now, what I think is very smart is the partnership between Bleacher, TNT, and HBO Max. You can watch hockey games on TNT. If you don't have TNT, like I don't, you can watch it on Max. So all the NHL playoffs, I can get them on Max, which is great because Max is not that expensive.
Correct.
To own. You get the movie concepts, and now you're getting live sports, which I think Netflix should start doing as well, and they will get into that as well.
That's my prediction. That's my prediction.
I've been saying it for years. They're a little late because now they're Max is doing what? Oh, we gotta get Raw. Oh no, we gotta get the boxing. In general. Oh, we got the NFL now. So now they get, but Max is the one that kind of started it.
Yeah.
And, or Prime. I think Prime might have started first, and then Max picked it up.
I want to see who gets MLB because MLB just canceled their contract. I think this is the last year on ESPN. I want to see who gets the MLB package.
I guarantee you, it'll be HBO.
Probably, man. Probably.
It's gonna be HBO. It's gonna be HBO. HBO's.
Bro, we live in a new world, man.
Yeah,
we live in a new world, bro.
Yeah.
And as part of it, like you just mentioned, it's kind of going on opposites. It's like kind of like when you're in the mall and you're on the escalator. So one of them is going up and the other one is going down.
Yeah.
And you're gonna meet to a certain point. And the fact that NBA and MLB and NHL run at the same time, the same amount of games, the same format per se, you're always gonna have a competition. As you now, NHL and soccer is growing here in the South, in the States alone, because like you mentioned, the Flyers, the Rangers. Up north, there's always been a strong connection with hockey, obviously closer to the border. But as it gets more popular, and a lot, you see the popularity of a sport when kids start playing it. So when you see younger kids wanting to play hockey, that's the next generation of a hockey player. A kid from the inner city that is picking up skates and playing hockey, you're like, whoa, like that's the reach. Soccer, after the World Cup and Messi come here into Miami, there is not a park that you go here in Miami, even in the inner cities, that you don't see kids playing soccer.
Yep.
And that is the reach, man. And there's a lot of more diversity, and all sports kind of like will even out. I know MLB takes a little bit of the ratings now from basketball and from hockey, but it's not as much. Basketball was still predominant for a few years. Yeah. But I'm interested to see how you adapt, how you evolve, but you don't lose sight of what you do great. Like you cannot continue to change something that was kind of perfect. You can improve it a little bit, but like you mentioned, man, it's about demographics. They're trying to get a younger crowd. Like with baseball was losing the younger crowds. Why? Because the games took 4 hours. Yeah. So they're going to evolve. There's a bunch of analysts that go, and it's insane. Well, me and you are just fans, and we're talking about it here, but there are people that are legit getting paid millions of dollars to analyze how can we improve 1 millisecond of an NBA game, of an NHL game. And they'll right the ship. They have to find a common ground some way, somehow.
Yeah, I agree, but I still think hockey's going to start catching up.
I think that
it is. The fact that, listen, I remember if it was Ekblad or Barkov, one of those guys played with a broken sternum in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
And that's why he wasn't very good, because he had a broken sternum. And
but he was there.
I couldn't breathe. I was like, oh God. It's like, and then you get Paul Pierce exaggerating because he crapped himself. He needed a wheelchair, and then you get the wannabe Willis Reed moment, with Paul Pierce.
And it's no knock. There's no knock. There are players that are still tough and that they play it out.
Yeah.
The only thing is when your stars are the ones that doing the maintenance and all that, that's when you got a problem.
Listen, I think Ant's a tough guy. I'll be honest with you. I think Ant's tough. I put Giannis in that category. I think Giannis is a tough guy. The guy likes contact as well. I put him in that category as well. Luka as well. I would put Luka in that category as well. The Eastern European guys are not softies. They're
no.
Jokic, at all.
Like,
Joker's a tough guy as well. So yeah, there's still some tough guys in the league. There's not the enforcer anymore. That's one thing. I was speaking with Chalupa Batman when he was on. We were talking Canes, and he brought basketball a little bit. And he said that there's not really that enforcer anymore. Like, remember, like we had Birdman and UD. You touched Dwayne Wade, you were done. One of those guys, hey, spoke, send a message.
that is something that you'll see come next year, and there's definitely a changing of the guard. Obviously, naturally, when something happens in regards to Miami, but you're definitely going to see that be addressed this offseason. Yeah, you're going to see it be addressed.
Yeah, so So I mean, we are in agreement. I think we both agree that the NHL players are just tougher.
They
They're
are.
more.
Yeah,
They're.
they are
I
right
mean,
now.
it's not easy. You're on skates and you're going 30 miles an hour.
Hey,
35 miles an hour.
every time you go to the ice skating rink, and I tell my wife, I love ice skating. I go super fast. I can't stop. And I tell her, I'm like, can you imagine playing a sport? And all I tell her is, in basketball, you're used to changing of direction. I change directions quick, perfect, amazing. I'm like, can you imagine doing that on skates with a stick and a 250-pound guy coming right at you trying to take your head off? I'm like, there is a respect factor that I have for hockey players every time I go ice skating, because I'm like, it's impossible to play a sport doing this, man. It's impossible to play. And they just do it effortlessly, man. Effortlessly.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And let me tell you, man, this was a tournament, exhibition, and hey, you blew our national anthem. Gloves came off, and they go, let's see how tough you are now. They slugged each other.
I respect that, because at that point, it's not only about the sport, it's about your country, it's your pride.
Yeah.
And that is awesome. And you could be teammates. But tonight, we're not teammates.
We're not teammates, nope.
We're not teammates, bro. You're playing for a country, I'm playing. To me, that is the essence of competition.
Yeah.
Competition comes with pride. Unfortunately, some people do it because they're good at it, and they make a living, but very few people still truly enjoy the competition and the nature of having that pride. And if you lose, you lose. You lose like a champ, and hey, my hat's off to you. You beat me. That's fine. That's part of it. But I love when I saw that tournament, when I saw that layout, I'm like, oh, this is perfect, bro. This is perfect.
And the best part is, it came from the players. The owners just had to basically organize it. But the players wanted it. Yeah, just instructed, like, we want to do this. We want to see who's the best country in the world in hockey. And I was impressed by that. I was impressed by that. So yeah, man, when they dropped those gloves, they smashed each other. It was awesome to see. It was an exhibition game, dude.
Yeah.
Scout against your record.
Hey, some of the best, man. Some of those are the best, because it's like I said, you're playing. It's like it's like a mini Olympic session.
Yeah,
like an Olympic qualifying session, and you could do it. Every sport could do that. Realistically, can you imagine in baseball? You have USA, like the Caribbean series and all that. In your All-Star game, you have USA versus the world. Or Latin America, like the Americas versus Canada versus USA. That is super cool, man.
Yeah.
That is a super cool concept.
I totally agree with you. And it's great because now it's like national pride, North America, South America versus Japan, versus Italy, whatever it is, and stuff like that. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that's a great concept as well. But like I said, one of the nicest moments before we go into Miami Heat that I thought was really nice and showed like the blue collarness of the NHL player. Ryan Lomberg was a very popular guy here in Florida. They couldn't re-sign him.
Yeah,
he goes to another team, and when they did dedication for him, everybody gave him a standing ovation. And he was happy.
Yeah,
wearing a different uniform, but he patted, he waited,
he got on the ice.
He was happy, like he was. It was a genuine. It was like, oh, No, it felt real. It felt really real, and that's the thing. Like I think hockey players connect better, with the audience than I would say the NBA players and even Major League Baseball as well. When I was doing TV production. When I was in high school, we had a guest speaker. He used to work for the newspaper. I forgot his name. I think he worked for the Herald. And he said that the most approachable players that he ever dealt with were NFL guys and hockey. He says that the most difficult were baseball and NBA.
Correct.
But he said that he didn't hold it against the NBA guys because it's a long season for them, in general. But he said that in terms of approachability and more like, hey, how are you? The hockey players and
they're more down to earth.
We're more down to earth, yes, than the NBA players and the Major League Baseball players.
Which is insane, man. It's such an ego thing because but there's certain sports that, for example, in NBA is the taunting. In the NHL, there's really no taunting. NHL, you celebrate or you go out of line, you're gonna face it. The next time the puck drops, something's gonna happen to you.
Yep.
You know that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's a different cultural thing, even with baseball. Baseball for a long time, like obviously I'm Cuban. We're used to the celebration, the bat flip and all that. Y la guaperia that we call. That's fine. That was part of our game. And for a very long time, people that were like diehard baseball was like, oh, that's disrespectful to the game. And this, I'm like, there's a cultural thing when it comes to the sports. And like you said, there's cultural toughness. There is cultural toughness.
Yeah. I was doing announcing, when I was a teacher at Southwest.
Okay.
So if the coach is watching this video right now, he's gonna hate what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. And I used to announce the players.
Okay.
Like,
Introductions.
yeah, like if I was
Okay.
Michael Biamonte, like when
Okay, yes,
I would
yeah.
go, like I'm gonna give him a shout out. One of my,
Yeah.
my former player, Brandon Gotto, like that. And one day he told me, he's like, "Will, you gotta slow it down. You gotta slow it down." And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Baseball's a relaxing sport." I go, "But the fans like it, but that's just a part of baseball." He
Yeah.
told me like that, and I was like, "And that's why the ratings are going down."
That's bro. We
Bro,
took my son to see the Savannah Bananas.
Really quick, before you tell me that story, they used to come out to Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme song.
Oh. And that was so cool. But
Yeah.
baseball players they still have their walkout song.
Yeah.
And there's a reason Savannah. But we took my son to Savannah Bananas, and we took my daughter, and he's a huge Savannah Bananas fan. Obviously, it's not like real baseball, but you make it entertainment, you make it fun, like the banana rules. Like, it's very difficult to sit down for 9 innings and watch a game, and it's pitch, catch, pitch, catch, hit, out. Like, when you play it, it's different. But hey, my hat's off to you. You gotta make it entertaining. You gotta make it fun, man. Especially those sports that are like diehard. Like, an older person can sit down and appreciate the sport, but it's not really a back and forth sport. It's not tennis. It's not hockey. Like, it's not. And for example, it's kind of like golf. Like, it's an acquired taste. Like, you might not like it at all, and it's boring as hell, and you're not listening. But when you're playing it, it's relaxing. You're with your friends, so it's a different dynamic. But yeah, man, I love announcers like you. Even in basketball, there's high school announcers are so boring sometimes, and it's like so generic. And I'm like, dude, just live it up a little bit, bro. Put your music on, do some fan interactions, even when high schools or something, bro. You gotta make it fun.
Yeah, when I was replaced, because I ended up being replaced because I missed the game and I have a backup. It's a funny story,
Oh man.
Yeah, but I was replaced, and he started playing Billy Joel. The guy who replaced me, he started playing Billy Joel, and he started playing, like the Paul McCartney. He's an older guy, and even some of the older teachers came up to me and go, "Can you come back? We miss your music."
Warfest out there, bro.
Yeah, because I had my students. I had partners that were students because they would get community service out of it, And I'm a rock guy, so I would put Breaking Benjamin, I would put Disturbed and stuff like that. And they're like, "But John, this is like a Cuban school, Can we do a little?" So they busted out with reggaeton and stuff. So it was like when they would come out and during the intermission, so you would get like Daddy Yankee, but then you would get Breaking Benjamin, or you would get like Linkin Park and stuff like that. It was man. I'm like, bro. Let's have a good time, bro. Let's motivate and so on. But then when I left, it was like Casey and the Sunshine Band. I was told
Jimmy Buffett,
and even the older, like I said, like, Will, kind of miss you.
We're sorry, bro. We'll pay you double, man. Can you come back?
So that was fun. I liked announcing, man. But at the end of the day, I'd have time anyway. So, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, man. I had a good time. All right, speaking of announcing, let's go into the NBA and the Miami Heat, man. I love our Heat. Still got it back there, as my backdrop. But the Heat, 29-40, they've lost 9 games in a row. Some have been competitive. It could have gone either way. But the problem has been, I think they've blown 17 fourth quarter leads when they've been almost up by double digits, which is a problem. What is your take on what's been going on lately, since you're more of an NBA guy and you watch more of the games and so on? I think personally, it's getting in their head. It's been a very tumultuous season. Never, I think, the Heat have ever been challenged by a star like Jimmy Butler challenged the Heat.
Correct.
So, and I think it's kind of like messed with you can say the Heat culture a bit. 29-40, 9 straight losses, can't put away teams. So, what's your take on it?
Well, and any time that something like this happens in season, it's very trying for a team. It kind of defines your season. It breaks your season, realistically, because even when Jimmy was out, and he missed multiple games, the Heat were still playing relatively well. Also, you cannot ignore the fact that, for example, Nico's injured. He's missed now 3 weeks, and they dearly miss him. Hakis is in a major sophomore slump. He's been scouted. He's been figured out. And like there is a possibility that some of these players, like right now, you might be playing 4 positions next year. Realistically, there's going to be changes. I don't believe that this offseason there's going to be really any untouchable aside from obviously Bam, Ware. They're going to try to keep the young core, but even Hero might be looked at and a possibility being moved if you're going to move him now. But I think that what Spo has had to deal with, what the coaching staff has had to deal with, being a coach myself and having turmoil in season is very difficult because it's a long season. When you're losing, you get tired of this losing. And now, like you mentioned, it reaches the point where it's not about your physical play anymore. It's your mental toughness. Once you get into the fourth quarter, even with the lead, all you're waiting for is a missed shot, a turnover. And then you're like, automatically, I'm like, oh shit, here we go again. And that's it. It kicks in because they execute for 3 quarters. Now, what happens to them? What is difficult for them right now, they don't have anybody that could get to the line consistently and slow the game down a little bit in the fourth quarter, where it becomes more of a half-court offense. You have Bam that can do that at times, but sometimes they've gone away from him. And Tyler in the clutch this year has been very bad. He's shooting very inefficiently. He's making bad decisions at times. And trust me, I've been the number one Tyler guy. He's evolved into who I thought who he could become. But now you're like, is there any other step extra? Because we're missing a 1A. And when you lose your most important player mid-season and it causes this turmoil, this rift, the way this team was built was for him to be that closer. That was the point of this team. He didn't, the Jimmy Butler thing is funny because I would talk to Bobby about this before the season started. The exact role that he's playing at Golden State was the role that I envisioned for him as he aged as a Miami Heat, even into next year, because I figured they will get an extension done at a cheaper rate because realistically, I understand it's a beautiful high note right now, but Jimmy's metrics, his numbers are all down in Golden State, but it helps that Golden State has Seth Curry, Draymond Green, but Jimmy has fit in perfectly because his role as an aging player, that's what you needed from him. And you can have a few games where he completely takes over, he has his triple-double, and is sustainable. But everything that happened, the locker room with the injuries, the combination, Andrew Wiggins has been hurt, even though he's been playing great. Yeah. The Rozier let down this year. It's been like the perfect storm in regards to the development of players and the situation that you're in, that at this point, you're not going to see Bam rest right now still. Realistically, fans want you to lose out so you can get in the lottery. And I personally, I want us to get into the lottery. I know there are repercussions for us keeping our pick this year because then that means that our 2026 pick is unprotected. Our 2028 pick is unprotected. And that goes to the 2028, I believe, goes to Charlotte. And 2026, I believe, goes to OKC. So there are ramifications of having the pick this year in the lottery. But there's also a prize that you can win the lottery or you can get in the top 4 and you have a game changer. Mm-hmm. Now, there is going to be changes, I believe, in the offseason. There are obviously the Kevin Durant talks will be there. Yeah. You're still going to lean to your youth, but I do not believe there's many untouchable people. And there's going to be, like you mentioned, there's going to be a kind of like a flashback into that toughness that you need on the court, because what you've seen is very un-Heat-like. You've seen a team that can compete, and legit, this team could be 40-29 instead of 41-29 instead of 29-41. But it's a sign of a bad team. You're not consistent. When you're punched in the mouth, you can't fight through it. You give up. That's what they've done. They've basically given up, and their offense in the fourth quarter is non-existent. Like you see it, it's like elementary offense, and I'm like, what's going on? And I know you've been missing a few pieces here and there. With Nico, they've really missed Nico. Nico changes the pace for you. He also provides rebounding. Where people now that don't understand basketball and they just want to play your guys, you kind of see where there was no reason for Ware and Bam against Detroit, and we give up 3 offensive rebounds. He's sometimes in the wrong place. He overplays at times. That comes with reps. That comes with getting stronger. That comes with experience. So, unfortunately, teams have to go through this. Look at San Antonio. San Antonio has gone through 6 straight losing seasons. Yeah. Franchises have to go through it. It's just our turn, and we have to deal with it, man. We have to play through it.
Yeah, I was telling you. Like I said, when I had Corey on Tuesday.
Yeah.
He's a Knicks fan, and he talked about well, I see the Heat as tumultuous, and the top, and I said I wouldn't call it tumultuous. I'll call it orderly. And the reason why I say orderly is that the Heat are about order. When you sign up to play for the Miami Heat, there's a cultural and there's a way of doing things. And to go outside the NBA, I would put the Steelers are an organization I would say are orderly as well. The Ravens are an organization that are orderly. You know, they're very orderly.
Yankees.
Basically, the Yankees are very orderly. Like those are teams that we have a system.
Correct.
There's a way of doing things here. If you don't like it, don't sign your contract.
Exactly.
You know, and originally Jimmy Butler liked that because he thought a lot of the coaches, a lot of players were soft. Yeah,
he signed 2 extensions, contract and an extension.
Yeah, so. You know, about the Minnesota, the too soft. You know, I could beat the ones with twos alone. You know, he had the issues in Chicago. They picked Tobias Harris over him. You know, in Philadelphia. So he goes into an organization that, and on the surface early on, it looked like a perfect fit because Jimmy's a tough guy, supposedly a big defender, and so on. And he became a freaking diva towards the end. You know, he became a complete diva. And when you play for Miami, that's not what we're looking for as a team. So it's orderly. So listen, last year we made the playoffs. Okay, we wet the bed in the playoffs. I get it. Okay, but the year before, NBA Finals. The year before that, we were one shot away from going to the NBA Finals. Okay, the year before that, NBA Finals. This franchise has been good consistently for a while.
Oh, you went mute. Nothing. It could be me. No, but can anybody? I can't hear you now. It says the mic isn't connected. This is great. This is great. Perfect. At all. At all. If you want, get out and come back in. I'll hold the fort for you. Nothing. This is a great show for sign language. We need a little interpreter in the bottom. Oh, it's just me. It's just me, ladies and gentlemen. We'll wait for Will. See you back on. Nothing. You can hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Perfect.
All right. See, all right. For all of you out there that don't do this, StreamYard sometimes blows a fart and it mutes us without wanting to be muted, and it also drags our voices. So just to let you know, just a little bit.
And it was the same because it just happened mid-sentence for you. I'm like, you were talking and you just went. I'm like, did he touch his mic or something? And I'm like, is it me? And
no, man, no. It happens. It happens all the time. It just sucks when it's live. That's the problem. You know, in general, it sucks when it's live. When I was recording with the Puma, the female boxer, Ali Pajuelo, and so on, we recorded, you know, in general, and it happened a couple times, and she tries to she has to think a lot before she speaks English. Yeah. So she got stuck. And so I'm glad it happened. We were recording. You know, because that poor girl. Man. No. So I was just basically, I was just alluding to the fact that. I don't remember what I was saying.
The Jimmy, like organizational with a order structure.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Now I remember. No, it's like, so some of the fan base, you know, you read them online. It's like Spo needs to go. Riley's too old. I'm like, first of all, we should have had Damian Lillard. All right. If Damian Lillard's here, Jimmy probably more than likely stays.
Correct.
That was not Pat Riley's fault at all. That was a general manager that wanted to win a pissing contest with his star player. At the end of the day, Kyrie Irving, in my opinion, would not have fit in this team. Eventually, he would have flat earthed himself out of here, you know, and so on. You know,
and you know, I told Bobby many times we had these arguments. I would have moved Lowry and one of our young pieces for Kyrie because he would have been perfect in regards to basketball fit. I understand at that time it was the off the court issues and all that. Yeah. And look at now in Dallas. Basically, the franchise is for him, and he tears the ACL, which Dallas is going through. Dallas is going through a rough, man.
Yeah, they are.
Hopefully the basketball gods help them out, and they get high up in the lottery. But man, that GM,
he's gone.
Oh man, this summer he's gonna have a lot of explaining to do. No, not even that. I understand the Luka thing. When he traded, is it Quentin Grimes, the one he traded to the Sixers for Caleb, I think it's Quentin Grimes.
Yeah,
Dude, this kid is blown up in Philadelphia, and he was barely playing in Dallas. I'm like, dude, that's even. I understand. Yes, you traded Luka. That's generational talent, but you also fuck it up. Sorry, my bad. Can we curse here? No, good. No, my bad. My apologies.
Whatever.
My apologies.
Okay.
My bad. I said it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's no way you can make 2 trades and lose both trades in the same in season. Like that can't happen. That cannot happen, bro. So
No,
we'll see.
No, I totally agree with you on that one. They really jacked that one up. I'll tell you that much.
Oh,
As far as that goes, they really jacked that one up. No, so like I think Kyrie would. I think off the court would have been a good fit. Donovan Mitchell, I do think we could have pursued him a little better.
Yes, yeah.
That's the one. That's the one I think Riley could have done a little more. But I mean, you tried with KD, didn't want to come here. You tried with Giannis. He signs an extension with Milwaukee. But the one that we really should have had was Lillard. That we offered a really solid package, a better package.
Correct.
To the Trailblazers than the actual Bucks did, and lo and behold, Portland's in it's a dumpster fire right now over there. So Corona really went to bet on that one in general. So I mean, what about Pat and Spo? Like I said, I think you're entitled to a bad season when you've been successful for so long and you've gone to NBA Finals. Like, what do you think about what you've been hearing online and so on about possibly we need to move on from both Spo and Pat?
And I don't mean to offend anybody, but I'm going to offend a lot of people by saying that. It's just ignorant commentary. Okay. It's very ignorant and not being informed. You can be passionate as a fan. We as fans have the right to be passionate. Absolutely. That is perfect. You can say whatever you want to say. But also, if you don't understand how the organization works, for a very long time, Pat hasn't been the only decision maker. They've evolved. There's other people's voice. All these picks in the late teens, that's Adam Simon. That's the scouting department. Yeah, Pat Riley's the face of it because he's the image of it. And yeah, he has a lot of say in the decisions. But Spo has risen through the ranks as well. His voice has power there. Nick Harrison has power there. He's the official. He's the managing partner right now of the Miami Heat. Mick is the owner, but Nick is in charge. He's the CEO of the team. He's in charge. Pat Riley's your face. But you still got Andy Ellisberg's voice. You got Adam Simon. There's a reason Adam Simon hasn't gone anywhere because he's the future GM, maybe VP. I'm intrigued to see the succession plan, but there's also a thing that I remember before we got Jimmy in 2019, and we were a perfect marriage, honestly. Jimmy needed us, and we needed Jimmy at the time. And he bought into it, and he embraced it. The same things he's saying about Golden State right now, he said about Miami. Which is the same thing he said about Minnesota when he got there. It's the same. It's the regurgitated thing. We understand. It's the honeymoon. It's great. Now,
found his joy. Go ahead.
Before Jimmy came here, we are in a much better situation now than we were before Jimmy decided to come to Miami. The roster back then looked very bleak. Talking about Deion Waiters, you had Whiteside, you had Dragic, only Dragic basically. And the crazy part is that people almost forget. We initially traded Dragic in order to acquire Jimmy. That was a whole dilemma with Dallas that, it was a confusion. We didn't know what player they were wanted, blah, 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 blah. And then we had to trade an extra first-round pick to be able to move Whiteside, and we acquire Myers Leonard. But the organization will be fine. I promise you. The work will be done. I understand the fan base is guilty of time. We are guilty of a time crunch. Everything needs to be now. And this is one thing that I knew, that in regards to the franchise being now multiple voices, Pat Riley would have traded all those young pieces a long time ago for anybody. This is part of the evolution, the new NBA, the new CBA. There are reasons, like I tell everybody, the past champions, the Celtics, the Nuggets, what have they done? Have they really acquired anybody out of nowhere? They developed their own players. They drafted their own players. It took them time. The Celtics took them 6 years with their core before they won. They added Kristaps Porzingis. They added Derek White. Yeah. The Nuggets, Jamal Murray and Jovic, did they win their first year? No. It took them 6 to 7 years is part of it. Now you have a team that under full training camp, a full offseason, you got Bam. If you got Tyler, you got foundational pieces there. Now you have to build with them. And you're always gonna be searching for a whale, whether it's Durant, whether it's Anthony Edwards, whether it's Luka. If Luka doesn't sign his extension, it's gonna be a very interesting summer. And I do believe there's gonna be a return kind of to the free agency, because you mentioned, remember earlier in the podcast, you talk about honoring your contract.
Yeah.
They kind of set a precedence where I'm gonna sign an extension and demand a trade. So free agency for a while has been non-existent. What you do is you sign your supermax and then you find a way to get out of that.
Yeah.
And that's been the model. But there's going to be a few changes in regards to, I do believe free agency in 2026 is going to be a seismic move for the NBA. There's going to be a landscape change. But they're going to go back to their core, and you got to tighten it up defensively, mental toughness. It's a part of having a young team. When you have a young team like that, you're going to go through it. But I just want to see how Pat Riley leaves the organization when he does leave officially, because I don't believe it's going to be this offseason. He wants to kind of make sure he leaves this roster set, but I don't believe he's going to wait until we win another championship. He might be exiting the organization soon, and there's already a hierarchy in place. People don't realize that. People talk about like, oh, out of the teams hiring, that you're not going to go and hire another personnel from another team to run the organization. The hierarchy is already set. The succession plan is already set. So it's either going to be Spo, Adam Simon. It's going to be in-house. So whoever doesn't understand or doesn't appreciate what Riley has done for this city, for this team, Pat Riley instilled what we are as a Miami Heat. He instilled the organization. He made the organization what it is. And now it's passed on to Spo.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that was very well said, Alex. Very well said. As far as free agency goes, who do you think the Heat have a better possibility of landing? Durant, Giannis, or Luka?
This offseason, I believe this offseason for sure is Durant, because Luka's still not going to be a free agent unless he tells LA that he doesn't want to come back. But now there's no incentive for Luka to sign his contract, because he can't get a supermax anymore. Once he was traded from Dallas, he's not eligible for that supermax. So the Lakers can give him the same contract that any other team can. Just because they acquired his bird rights, it doesn't mean anything to them. I do think realistically they have a shot at Durant if Durant makes it known that he wants to go to Miami only, and he has some power in that because he only has a year left in his contract. So he can be detrimental to a team. Like, look, don't trade for him. I'm not going to sign an extension there. So he can maneuver his way to Miami, and we have a package that can make it work for the Suns with multiple younger pieces, maybe a few first that we can trade. But it is all going to come down to if he wants to come here, and is it going to be a game changer? Does he want to be? He doesn't have to be the most important player. He's still going to be your top scorer. Realistically, Durant comes, he's your top scorer. You still got Bam, which is your defensive juggernaut, your hub offensively. But out of all of them, long term, they might want to position themselves for Luka. I think they believe they're a player in Luka until he signs an extension. So it could be like the best of man. It's very. If they have the opportunity, I think they're going for Durant. But obviously, long term, you're looking at Luka, and I think the ultimate goal is Anthony Edwards. I do think down the line, some way, somehow, Anthony Edwards will be a Heat player. Because there's just too much. He fits who you are. Like, he legit fits who you are. So I'm waiting for it to see. It's going good in Minnesota. A-Rod became the new owner. They have the same hierarchy in place, the same front office. But I do believe long term, Anthony Edwards is a go-to move. Depending on if we win the lottery or we're in the top 4, and you got from Cooper Flag, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, Edgecombe, like now you have a different conversation. Now you have if you get Cooper Flag, man, like that right there, you don't have to trade anybody for him. That's your draft pick. You got Cooper Flag, you got Ware, Bam Adebayo. You have a nice core, man. So it's crazy how we haven't been lucky at times, because there was only one time that we really tanked, and it was for Rose, and we ended up with a second pick. Yeah. And obviously they wanted to trade back down. No one will move with him, and they took Beasley. I love Beasley. Beasley is, like we always say, your favorite player's favorite player. But at the time, it wasn't an ideal fit. Obviously, you went a different direction. But if you get Cooper Flag, and I do believe in the basketball gods, that's why you always play the game the right way. And you can tank all you want. The Sixers tank. They got 3 first overall picks, and look where they're at right now again. So you have to have a down year. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Everything happens. Even the Lakers and even Kobe's last years, they had down years. San Antonio's going through down years now. Chicago's never really recovered from when Jordan retired. Yeah. So it's a generational thing. So it's a decade right now. Who you have to deal with, you got bang with? OKC, Cleveland, Orlando, Houston. Those are the teams that are going to be damaging in the next few years. So we just gotta be patient. We've become entitled as fans. That's one thing that I hate about Miami fans. We're entitled. We think that they owe it to us and you have to do this. And we become very spoiled. And it happens. Great organizations have to restructure sometimes. Yeah. So it's just part of it.
Yeah, it's like we've just been winning. I mean, even if it hasn't been first place, but we've been winning. We've been going to the playoffs. Correct. We've gone late rounds. We've been to the finals. I mean, we've just been winning. We've consistently winning. And that's something that, listen, it's funny because a lot of Heat fans are also Dolphin fans.
Yes, correct.
And even Canes fans. And correct. I remember in the early 2000s when Larry Coker had a 10-win season. He went 10-2 one year. The fans wanted him fired.
Yep.
Yeah. Now we're happy with 10 wins.
Yeah. It's situational and circumstantial.
Yeah, man. So I be patient, guys. I do trust Riley. I think he understands the game. There's a reason why Spo is the heir apparent to Steve Kerr to coach the Olympic team. Everybody respects him. Personally, I said it I had an episode already on my show. I say it again. I think he's the best coach in the NBA.
He is. And Spo, that's one thing that I want to mention and I want to specify. Being a head coach is very difficult. Yeah. I loved being an assistant because you have time to analyze everything. And obviously your decisions, you get suggestions, but the decisions are finally yours. Spo has to live with it, and I got to give it to him. He's been honest up front. This hasn't been his best season. He's made a lot of mistakes in regards to rotation. He's trying to find something. He came off a divorce last year, the whole breakup with Jimmy. It's a very trying year for a human being. And especially when you're losing, it just gets compounded. And then when you lose, you question everything that you're doing because it's nature. You're like, you want to find a resolution, not for you, but you want to find it for your players. You want to find it for your assistant coaches. You want to find it for the front office. So it's a very trying year that, believe it or not, you just want it to be over. You want to take a deep breath and you want to have a nice little vacation and go into training camp a brand new man. And I when you see Bam, if they start resting him with 10 games to go, because Bam is playing through some nagging injuries too, that is not going to be public knowledge. Andrew Wiggins has been banged up. When you see that, kind of maybe if they start sitting Bam a little bit, that's when you really know. You're like, all right, that's it. We're tanking. We're unofficially tanking.
Funny. That's true. Alex, thank you so much for coming on, man. I love having you on as well. I love having you, Bobby, on. You have a great show with the East Century Hialeah boys. Guys, they've been friends. Him and Bobby have been friends for a long time. So the chemistry that they have on their show, as far as back and forth and friendship, is one of the best you'll ever see on a podcast. It's one of my favorite shows to watch as well.
That's my brother, man. And you're always welcome. You're always welcome.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Oh, I'll be nagging Bobby soon. I want to come on.
Nag him all you want, bro. Nag him all you
Bobby,
want.
come on. I work at Hialeah. Come on. Aside from aside from FTSN or any other place, where can we find you on your social media handles?
Well, you can find me on my social media handles right there, AJ_Atia. And like I said, don't DM me because I'm not going to see it. It's funny how, like I was telling you before the show, I'm rarely on it. I follow her for sports and all that, but I'm like the most anti-social podcaster you're ever gonna find in your life. But I'll talk to you in person. I got no problem. But with the podcasting, I'm like the most anti-social one, man. But I thank you for having me. It's really cool to talk, and the relationships that have been built because of this podcasting and doing things that you love. It's unbelievable how you go sometimes your whole life and you don't realize that there's so many people out there that kind of share the same perspectives as you, and you can honestly agree to disagree about topics and it's in a respectful manner. Absolutely. And you get to converse, you get to talk. So I really appreciate you having me on, bro.
No, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. Like I said, it's always fun when I have you and the FTSN guys on, man. Guys, and let me tell you guys, it's the same thing I told with I told you guys with Corey on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. We are friends. We do get along. You know, we do socialize and we back each other up on the air. So it's just like, oh, I have them all one time and that's it. It's over. No. We are friends. We do get along as well. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to subscribe to the FTSN network, the Vince Talk Sports Network. Okay. They have like 3,000 shows on there. You know, for every variety. They even got a wrestling show. All right, as well. If
Mhm.
you like wrestling, they got NBA, of course. They got a little variety, which is what you get with Bobby and Alex. And they just brought back the Cane Sport podcast as well. So a little bit of everything. If you like the Heat, you got Heat show. Do you like Dolphins? They got a bunch of Dolphin shows.
Oh,
Obviously.
galore. No,
Dolphin
and especially
shows.
now that the draft is coming up. So Bobby and the crew have been doing an amazing job, man, prepping guys for the draft.
Oh yeah, I gotta have you on. Listen, I'm going for the spring game for the Canes. I'm gonna be on live every day, Monday through Friday until the day of the game. All right. I want to do the same thing for the draft. I want to do like Monday through Wednesday. I know Bobby does Thursdays. Is gonna do a whole show Thursday.
Yeah.
I'd like to have you on again to give a Dolphin perspective during the draft time period. You down, brother?
Yeah, for sure. Let me know, man.
Awesome. Yeah. I have to let Bobby know as well, and of course Courtney. Everyone knows as Dolphin.
Well, yeah, and I tell you, I could be a backup plan. Your top guys, obviously, Bobby, Court, and all those people. Because I'm a huge Dolphins fan, but in content-wise, in regards to doing the research, they're the top notch. So I will gladly come on. I'll give you some banter. I'll give you some fun. But if you want real expertise, you got to go with them.
Oh, for sure. I'll let Bobby know want to borrow some of his people.
Yeah.
All right, brother, man. If you like what you heard, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Not just to me over here at 305 Sports Now, but also at the FTSN Network. God bless, guys. Have a wonderful night. Go Canes, go Heat, go Dolphins, go everybody. Bye, guys.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.